Hello everyone. It's too cold to be outside with the bees today, but we're going to be doing some work in my basement. We're going to be putting together some layens frames and wire them up for the upcoming season. Stay tuned for how I assemble the frames and wire them up. Coming up next. This is my work area for assembling and wiring layens frames. What you see here are enough parts for 12 frames and a frame assembly jig. Okay, I'm going to show you how I assemble a frame. You need the two side parts. They go in the jig like this. You need a top bar, which goes here, and then you need a bottom bar, which goes here. I usually put the frame in the jig dry, and then I add the glue. Once I've got the frame kind of set up in the jig, I put a little bit of glue on each one of these ends. Put it in place. Make sure it's lined up. And nail it. I prefer using a pneumatic nailer. You could do this with hammer nails. Turn the jig around. You got to make sure on this one that your holes are facing toward the top bar, so you can wire it at a later date. Put a little glue on the ends, then put it in place. And let me turn this over. The frames I've got right here are some that I purchased when I was at the North American Bee Expo, since I haven't had a lot of time to cut out the parts. So, and they don't fit my jig quite right. But they work. And that's all there's to it. Got the jig assembled. I do take and put a couple of staples here. And it is done. So I'm going to continue assembling these frames, and I'll bring you back whenever I'm wiring them up. Okay, now that we've got all 12 of those put together, I'm going to show you how I wire them. If you notice, there are 4 holes in the top bar and 4 holes in the bottom bar. So we put it in my jig here, which the plans are on Dr. Leo's website, horizontalhive.com. I'll try to leave a link in the description below. And then we've got our reel of wire over here. I've got a little grommet, I don't know if you can see it or not, that I use. I used to use staples as his pattern shows, and I started using grommets last year. So I'll put the grommet on there, and I'm going to wire it like I used to wire it. I found with these, the grommets don't stay in the holes very well, so you have to put them on the wire and then stick them in the hole. And it's easier to thread it through the thing. And you want to make sure that you have the grommet going the right way, because there's a wide end on the top, and then there's a tube below that goes into the hole. And we'll thread another grommet on here. And we'll just continue on threading the wire through the frame here. putting the grommets on the outside of the frame at each one of the holes. And as you can, I don't know if you can see it or not, but the grommets, whenever I pull the wire, they come out. And the last hole here, and a grommet for that one. Then we take, well, that didn't work. Then we take a wire nail. I'm using 1/2-inch wire nails. I think they're 19 gauge wire nails. And I put it in my pair of pliers here. Take my little hammer. And we put a nail right here. And another nail right here. You'll see what we're looking for here in a moment. So we go around this nail 3 times. And break our wire off. Then we take our wire off of our insulators here. Take up the slack. Make sure our grommets are where they belong. And we start tightening it. I stretch the wire and I'm turning the spool over here with my right hand. And as you can hear, it's getting tighter and tighter like a guitar string. And once we get it tight, we wrap this around it 3 times. Drive the nail in and break the wire off. Now with this jig, I don't know if you can see it or not, this clamp holding the jig in the, holding the frame in the jig, it's got this top bar bent a little bit. Whenever I let that go, it puts additional tension on the frame, and there's your wired frame. Next, I'll show you how I'm wiring them this year. Okay, now we're going to wire the frame like I've been wiring them this year. Last year, the Suburban Sodbuster, Monty from the Suburban Sodbuster, who is a YouTuber from around St. Louis, I believe it is, posted that he had problems with his foundation slumping or collapsing, and he had a fix for it that he thought. So his fix was wiring the frame with an X pattern. So instead of going straight through the frame like this, we start out here, go to the second hole here, and I'm putting grommets on each one of these also. We come back to this first hole, then we come over here to the third hole, to the third hole in the top rail. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the fourth hole in the top rail. I almost messed up there. Then back to the third hole in the top rail. Gotta make sure we get these grommets on there right. And then through the fourth hole in the bottom rail. And then, as with the other method, we put 2 nails in it. This is the best way I found to put the nails in without smashing your fingers. Around this nail 3 times. Make sure your loops are tight. Break off the wire. Then start removing the wire from the insulators here. Make sure your grommets are in the right spot. And if you don't use grommets, you just use staples. It's not an issue like it is with these grommets. Now, on the frames that I make, the grommet hole is snug and it stays in place. So I found with, take up the slack there, I found with these frames that the grommet holes are a little big, and so they don't stay in. There's not a friction fit. So then we start tightening it up like I did on the other one. It's a little bit different, but not much. Stretch it. Next frame, wire, next wire. And you can kind of get a feel for it when you got enough tension on it. It doesn't give near as much, but you want to make sure you get it good and tight so it stays that way. This is a little more fiddly to get. Grab the loop here, around this nail 3 times, smack it in, and break it off. Again, this top rail is, I've got enough tension on it that's got a little bit of a bow, so whenever I let that loose, it tightens up the frame. But there it is. I don't think you can see the wires very well. There you can. So that's the frame ready for your foundation, or if you put it in foundationless, you can put it into the box just as it is. So I'm planning on doing a video on assembling a insulated layens hive from Dr. Leo's plans. I've got the stuff cut out. I've missed one part on each one of them, so I've still got to get to my son's shop. It's been too cold to cut the parts out. So as soon as I get the rest of the parts cut out, I'll be posting that video also. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you would like to visit Monty's YouTube channel, I'll try to put a link to it in the description below. So till we see you out the bee yard next time, happy beekeeping, and thanks for watching.